everyone, welcome back. And today I'm going to be doing what if Norway decides to form an empire? So, with Norway now becoming imperial, they decide that they will want to unite the Scandinavias. And since that's what I always do with Sweden and Finland, I decided to take that into in a different way. I won't be uniting the Scandinavias immediately since that's what I've been doing again with Sweden and Finland. So this time I'll be looking down south. Norway will be looking down south, sending an ultimatum over to Denmark, saying that they would want their entire territory. So the Danish refuse because they don't even have any territories. Or any land remotely near Denmark. Sweden is the closest between them and Norway. So Norway finds any excuse to invade Norway. I mean, to invade Sweden. So a few days go by, and then eventually Norway begins their invasion into Sweden. So yeah, a very big invasion. The Swedish wasn't prepared. They declared war. Then eventually, the Norwegians already captured their entire part, and then Sweden surrenders. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's a peace treaty. We see that Sweden has been fully annexed by Norway. And I know I said that I wouldn't be uniting the Scandinavias just yet, but let's just say that they will annex Sweden, but Finland not yet. Also, because Finland is way more powerful than Norway. Sweden could probably take over Norway, but in this scenario, we could just say that Sweden has been having some protests in the country that made the country collapse, and then right then and there, Norway decides to invade Sweden, making them able to annex it. So, with this, they send another ultimatum over to Denmark once again, requesting for their entire territory. And since they're now technically bordering up with Denmark, Denmark doesn't want to get destroyed, and then eventually they decide to surrender and give in to the ultimatum. So, Denmark is now under Norwegian rule, so they decide to look south and then try to invade Germany. So they are able to invade, capturing a lot of their coast, already threatening Berlin, but they are able to push back. And then with Germany now realizing that this could be a war, they decided that they would ask Norway to push their troops out of their territory and they wouldn't have to go to war. But does Norway care? No, they send more troops, making them able to cut off all of their ocean access. So, with that, Germany declares war on Norway. But with that, they already surround Berlin and then already capture it. And then, yeah, let's just say, yeah, they already lose their northern part, and then eventually Norway is able to make Germany surrender. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see that Germany has been fully annexed. So the Norwegians decide that they will want to go after France. So they declare the war on France, but then as the French is already getting its troops already on this part of the border, the Norwegians decide to do something of what this came from the Germans. They start invading the lowlands, invading the Netherlands, taking them out, and then taking over Brussels, and then Luxembourg falls. And then Belgium already falls. And then they start storming into France, taking over a lot of their coastline. And then, with the French troops coming back to defend them, they are able to get some sea access back, but that also means they are able to push into France more, connecting up with their other front, soon capturing Paris. And then eventually, they're able to go down, and then soon, France decides to surrender. So with this, let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see that the lowlands, Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg has been fully annexed by Norway, and France is also annexed by Norway, but still leaving Corsica still in the French government. So they decided to go over to Spain and Portugal, requesting for their territories. So Portugal decides to give in, but they realize that that was a mistake since Spain has refused. So they decided to declare war on Spain, and then yeah, they pretty much they start invading from Norway. I mean from Portugal, and then they start heading down, and then eventually they connect, pushing them a lot south, and then able to capture Madrid and their islands. And then they decide to invade Gibraltar, which made the UK enter the war. So with it, the UK trying to find any landing to invade, yeah, they still cannot find anything. So Norway sends a peace treaty over to London, and then they reject it. So, but we do see a peace treaty happening with Spain. So let's go ahead and look at that. So here we see the full annexation of Spain, except for these islands, and Finland sees this and is completely outraged. So they also declare war on Norway and forming any alliance with the UK. So with the most of the Norwegians mostly right here in the Iberian Peninsula, we see that the Finnish are able to advance into Norwegian territory, soon going to Swedish, and then eventually about to go into the valuable part, or soon about to threaten their capital. And then the UK starts sending their Royal Navy into the north, and then eventually they start making landings near Oslo. But then eventually we see some Norwegians coming back through Denmark over to Sweden, and in which are able to fend off the Finnish, and then mostly the UK's. So with them already taking over Northern Ireland, yeah, the UK wasn't expecting that, so they managed to lose some territory, but also gain some in the Norwegian mainland, I guess. But then eventually we see a civil war breaking out in the UK, which is Scotland wanting to gain its independence. And then eventually Scotland decides to go over to the Norwegians, form an alliance, and then the Scottish breaks free from the UK. Now it's just Wales and England. And then eventually Wales does the same, granting its independence. And then eventually England falls over to the Norwegians. And then this part of the UK automatically falls. And then in the north, we see that they are able to push back a lot, the Finnish back, pushing them back to where they are in the border, soon invading their own country. This part falls, and now, yeah, they start invading, and then the Finnish just starts asking for foreign aid, and then which that comes for the Baltics. Estonia, Latvia, Estonia, and Poland gets into the war. They are invading. They are helping by invading the German territory, and they are able to push back the Norwegians little by little. But then eventually that's into a stalemate, and then they ran out of troops. And then eventually Helsinki falls, and then Finland surrenders. And then, yeah, might as well just surrender for the Baltics. And then, as for Poland, yeah, they're pushed back completely. And then Poland is now fighting a two-front war. And then eventually, Warsaw is captured, making Poland surrender. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see that now, over here in the British Isles, we see that the UK loses Northern Ireland, and it's reunited with Ireland. And Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland has been fully annexed by Norway. And now they decided to invade two more countries, and that is the Czech Republic and Slovakia. And okay, maybe let's just throw in Austria and Hungary. So with them four fighting together, pretty much Prague is already fallen, and then yeah, Slovakia already surrenders, Budapest is captured, and Vienna is captured. And then yep, pretty much Hungary surrenders, and yeah, Austria too. Okay, so let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see that the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Austria, and Hungary has been fully annexed by Norway, and we could see the Norwegians gaining more access to the Mediterranean by invading Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Albania, or Greece. Or they could go more into the Balkans, and then eventually they could conquer all of Europe. But let's just say that the Norwegians are too tired, and they're now glad that they have formed an empire. And hopefully, y'all like the video, and I'll see you on the next one.